How's it going, Ivan?
All good, all good. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Just chilling out today, relaxing. Gonna light the grill in a little while. What about yourself, buddy?
I'm here at work. I'm here in the gym. Just train a couple more clients and then call it a day.
That's what's up, man. How's training going? How's everything, kind of getting back to the new normal? How's it treating you?
You know what? I'm adjusting pretty well. We just got through a tough time, and we just take all the precautions needed, and that's about it. We just keep it pushing.
That's what's up, man. So, are a lot of fighters coming back to your gym? Are you guys able to almost get back to full operations?
Yeah. We keep it limited. No more than eight, 9 fighters. But yeah, they're starting to trickle in, and as you know, we just got done with camp with Adam. Had a great outing, and things are falling back into place.
I was going to mention Adam Lopez. What a war. What a great fight. Boxing really needed that. And a great kid. I had him on my show, and the future is certainly bright for him. He's a hard worker, huh?
Yeah. He's a very hard worker. He has a good head on his shoulders. He's very humble. And, he definitely proved a lot. He proved a lot that fight. We asked him to do certain things, and the kid went above and beyond and really, really dug deep.
Oh, he certainly did. That was a hell of a war. And you also worked with another fighter that I'm very familiar with, Ronald Ellis, who's been on my show a couple times. Great kid. Funny.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a savage in the ring. I'll tell you, he's very, very aggressive, but very smart. But all around, a very, very nice guy.
Oh, absolutely nice. I've had him on the show a couple times. We've actually become very good friends. And I can't wait to watch. I think some sparring footage came out with him and Canelo. I'm looking forward to watching that because I know they had some spars recently. Let's talk about your background as a trainer. I know you work with Buddy McGirt, who is, in my opinion, one of the greatest trainers, right up there with an Emmanuel Stewart, in my opinion, in terms of just knowing the game so well and having such a relaxed approach to their clients and their understudies. So tell me about your boxing background, if you don't mind, becoming a trainer.
I started boxing when I was 11. I had a good little run for about 3 years. I ended up with about 30 amateur fights. Turned pro a little late. I started having kids really early on, so I've always held a full-time job. And I had three pro fights. I retired 2 and 1. I just got started a little late, so, by the time I was 30, I kind of had to give it up. So, I started training people, Just started training people, and I found myself where I think I'm supposed to be. So, I've been training fighters for the last almost 10 years, about 9 years now. I started working with Buddy about 2 years ago. And so far, so good. I've learned so much from him. I'm from Southern California, so boxing's a little different here. He's from the East Coast, so he kind of brought that East Coast flavor. And things are working out great. He's a lot of fun to be around. He's a great mentor. Sets a great example. Comes with loads of experience. He's always in a great mood. He's a pleasure to work with and a pleasure to have around. He really lights up the gym.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I had him on my show, and I've actually been in the gym with him before in the past back on the East Coast in Newark. And I love Buddy's, love for music and film. He's a very passionate guy when it comes to things, even outside of boxing now. He's very passionate about boxing. There's no denying that at all. And you had mentioned kids. You have 5 kids, right?
Yeah, I have 5 kids. I have a 7-year-old daughter, Jasmine. I have Nathan, he's 15. And I have 2 more boys, Julian, which is 10, Nolan, he's 8 years old, and I have a 5-month-old, little Adam.
That's what's up, man. How you keeping them all busy? Because during these times, and I was going to ask you, what are you also doing outside of working? Like, how's the family all getting along, and what are you guys doing to pass the time and keep entertained?
I take my kids out. You know, we have dogs. You know, so we'll take a few walks. I recently started bringing them to the gym. My two older ones live with their mother, so I see them every other weekend. My three boys basically live with me. So, you know, that's about it. We just keep them busy. You know, they have their little video games they play here and there, but they live a very structured life. You know, they wake up, they make their beds, they do their push-ups, they brush their teeth, they take a shower, and then they come out for breakfast. You know, so by the time I get home, they haven't been playing too long. I'll bring them to the gym, I'll train them, get home, have dinner, go to sleep.
What kind of dogs do you have?
I have a Presa Canario. He's 2 years old. He's a Spaniard Mastiff, basically, and I have a red-nosed Pit Bull. She's about 3.
Oh, beautiful, man. Yeah, I got a little Chihuahua, and we rescued her about 6 years ago. And it's funny that you mentioned the walks, because I think I take her on like 8 walks a day now. So she's getting a lot of exercise, you know. To keep busy, we've been watching movies, listening to music. I'm a musician. I've been recording a lot of stuff. What kind of music do you like?
I like a little bit of everything, you know. I like my Spanish music. I like my hip hop, you know. I like soft rock every now and then. You know, it all depends what mood I am, what mood I'm in. I mean,
right.
So yeah, man, a little bit of everything.
What about for movies and television? You watching anything nowadays?
No, well, now that boxing is back, you know, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I always tune in to ESPN. I do a lot of, I try to watch fights as much as I can. You know, I kind of love what I do. I'm obsessed with this sport. So a lot of boxing. If there's no boxing on, then I'll go back and watch some of Adam's fights to see what improvements we can make. And, yeah, man, that's basically about it. So a lot of boxing.
Yeah, I love boxing. I can tell in your voice you love it too. And I've been watching a lot of throwback fights. I'm a big Holyfield guy, and you know, Arturo Gatti, who we mentioned, worked with Buddy McGirt. You know, I've been throwing back some of his fights with, you know, Ivan Robinson. It's just so crazy how many wars that Gatti was in, you know. And Buddy McGirt was always amazing in the corner. And he even did it with Adam Lopez recently, where he's just straight up honest. He'll keep it at 100% real. Exactly. And that's the way you got to be, you know, in this sport. So with training fighters of late, what's your experience in terms of like how many people are you training right now?
Right now, I have including Adam, I have about 3 fighters.
Awesome.
I cut down a little bit because I wanted to focus more on Adam. You know what I mean? Since he's getting up there. But yeah, right now I have 3 fighters. I have one kid. He has 5 pro fights. I have another kid that's looking to make his debut. And little Adam Lopez, you know. And that's basically about it, you know. Since this is all I do for a living, you know, I get the fighters out of the way between 10:30 and about 12:30, and my rest of the day I just spend training clients.
Now, do you work the mitts with them?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh yeah, man. And some of these kids could really crack, right? Because I used to train some amateur fighters. I was an amateur fighter for a little while, but I'm telling you, some people just, you feel it in your back when you're holding it. Like, some of these kids could really hit hard. Do you have any experience with people just really, really, you know, having an impact when you're holding the mitts?
Yeah, I used to train this kid, Scotty Alexander. He's a heavyweight. He's about 3, 6'4". Big guy, man. And we had full camps together where I catch him on the mitts basically every day for about 8 weeks straight, and I definitely feel it. You know, another guy is Ronald Ellis. He's a 160-pounder, but the guy is strong. So definitely, I mean, I feel the wear and tear on my shoulders, but, you know, when you love to do something, you know, you kind of ignore those things. You know, I do a little maintenance on my body. You know, I try to work out a little bit so I don't get too jammed up, you know what I mean? But, yeah, definitely, man. Some guys can really, really crack. And, you know, with some of these guys, the guys that know what they're doing, you can really, you could time their stuff and you know what's coming. But some of these guys that are green, you know, they come and sometimes they try to prove a point. You know, these guys are already 200-plus pounds. I'm 5'7", 155 pounds. So I let him know, like, look, man, you don't gotta try too hard. I know where you're at, man. You're like twice my size. Don't relax, you know. And once I get them to relax and work on their balance and combinations and just really get down to the basics, it really helps out. You know what I mean? I don't just stand there and let them just go crazy on the mitts. I kind of work them like I'd work my fighters, and I think they really appreciate that, you know, because they're actually learning stuff and getting in shape at the same time.
Yeah, in my experience, you know, with fighting or just training in general, whether it was Muay Thai or boxing or whatever, the more relaxed you are, the better you could throw. Like, you don't have to put everything into it, and you'll also, you know, control your stamina in a much better way. Because I know a lot of people just go for it. They try that barroom brawl, like, here's my overhand right type of shot.
Right.
And it's just better to be more relaxed. You'll be quicker. You'll put the punches together better. And you'll notice, too, that knockouts will come when you try, you know, not to knock someone out, when you don't just go for the one punch, when you put combinations together. And that's something I always loved about Buddy. When I had experience with him in the gym in Newark back in the day at a gym called Elite Heat, you know, I watched him and how he worked with his fighters, and it was always off the combinations. And we saw Adam Lopez with that beautiful double jab, that triple jab, the body work, and the angles. And I'm like, this is textbook Buddy McGirt work, you know, when you're seeing a fighter, you know, just be able to put combinations together, be very loose. And I think that that's a great thing. And it's a lost art nowadays for a lot of fighters. And I'm glad you guys are really, really conditioning that, man.
Definitely, you're right. You know, guys have walked away from the jab. You know, they just look at the big punches. They don't create angles. There's not much head movement. You know, we really work on basics, you know, with Adam, you know, with his good jab, good fundamentals, good balance, and, you know, most of all, to be a thinker, to think, you know, be one step ahead of your opponent. You know what I mean? So it's definitely, like I said, you know, it's been great working with Buddy. You know what I mean? I've always, you know, I'm not going to say I've always, how can I tell you? I know there's a lot to learn, but, you know, I've been doing this a long time, and just when you thought you knew it all, you know, here comes Buddy, and you see things from his angle, you know, from the way he sees things, and it's like, okay, there's a lot more to it. You know what I mean? I get it. But yeah, you know, most importantly, like the question you asked, you know, we just we keep it basic. That's about it. We keep it basic and we keep it smart. You know,
all about fundamentals. It's all about the fundamentals, man. Right? It's all about, you know, working off that jab. That's the first thing they show you. You get into a boxing gym, for our listeners that haven't been in boxing gyms, you'll just jab for like months. You know, that's all you do.
You're right.
You're right. In front of a mirror, you'll work on like trying to get the shoulder over the chin a little bit so your chin's not exposed when you shoot the jab. It's crazy how much the jab, you know, is the fundamental, basic rudiment of boxing, but it's the most important thing because it'll keep someone off of you. It'll upset rhythm, you know, especially if you're landing it. I used to love what Holyfield would do. It's jab to the chest and jab to the, you know, stomach, and just have a great range of jabs. And sometimes you don't have to have the fastest jab. If you're changing trajectory of a jab, that could really throw someone off, even if you're just hitting their shoulders or their arm, because you're throwing rhythm off. You're making people's eyes move around, you know, when you're fighting them. And I like what I saw with Adam Lopez, because I noticed that he was doing that. He was shooting down the double jab, the triple jab, changing the rhythm on it. And that's I don't want to give any secrets away, but I love that he changes tempos, is what I'm trying to say, you know, and that's really effective.
Absolutely. I mean, you're absolutely right, and that's one of the main things that we always try to focus on, you know, especially getting ready for Louis. You know, we knew he was going to be aggressive. We knew he was going to keep coming, and we had to have a really, really good jab to offset his rhythm and to set up our combinations, you know what I mean? So we work that jab in so many ways. You know, we use it as a decoy. We use it to freeze them. You know, like you said, we change the rhythm on it. We throw doubles, singles, triples. You know, we step around with the jab. We go both ways with the jab, right or left. You know what I mean? And yeah, that was the main things that we really sharpened up with Adam, was the jab. You know, and it showed. It showed. Basically, that jab won the fight. You know what I mean? That was that stood out. His great jab and his great footwork and his angles and the way he could turn someone. And yeah, I mean, it was a scary fight to watch on our behalf, you know, but definitely saw big improvements, you know, and he's coming along. You know, I really believe he's going to be a world champion.
Oh, I agree too. Especially, you know, as he develops, he's getting better. You know, he's still a young guy, and he's got great company with yourself and Buddy McGirt around him, sheer management, you know, great people. Oh, absolutely, man. You know, everyone I've met from that family, I call you guys all family because you guys all have this vibe about you that you're all like very close and in support of each other, and not just treating it like a business, treating it like a family operation, you know, treating it like a family business, if you will. And that's important, you know, and I see that right away. Like when I met Rachel, she's been wonderful. I think she's one of the most darling people I've ever met. And, you know, everyone that I've met through this network, I've just been so, you know, happily, you know, engaged with. Like, I just think everyone is really great. And so for Adam, he's got a bright future, especially, again, I'm going to go back to that jab. When I was watching that fight, I was watching it with my girlfriend, and as soon as the first bell rang in the first round, I said to her, I could tell right away, I'm like, this is going to be a banger, because those guys went after each other, man. You know, Corey and Lopez just went right after each other. But then I saw him, and I said this to Adam on the show, I saw you make the adjustments. And when you can make adjustments in a ring, you can also make adjustments as you move along, because it shows your learning curve. Because the hardest thing as a fighter, in my opinion, is working under duress and making adjustments when you're being asked questions of yourself, like, man, this guy's good. Like, what am I going to do? Adam, you know, sincerely, you saw it during, like, the mid-rounds, like you mentioned, was just doubling up that jab, changing that tempo, and really just winning the fight, you know, through adjustments and great technique. So moving forward, I think that he'll have a great time, you know, adjusting and adding to his repertoire. How's he healing? How's he doing?
He's healing just fine. You know, the kid has a good, healthy life outside of the gym. You know, I thought it was going to be much worse, you know, but because he was pretty swollen. You know, he's pretty swollen and a little banged up, and it really worried me. But like you said, you know, we're a family, and Sheer Sports basically, they bring that family energy with the way they do business. They really look out for their fighters. You know, I've had my experience with Ken Shear. He's a great guy. You know, he's excuse me, he's one of the main guys. You know, he is the main guy. You know, Ken Shear is a man, and Lyle Green, another great guy. And as you mentioned, Rachel, she's a sweetheart. You know, she's got a big heart. Very, very nice person. Very easy to work with. But yeah, no, Adam's he's doing great now. You know, he's kind of itching to get back in the gym. Now, you know, I gotta tell him, hey, you kind of gotta rest, man. You gotta relax. You know what I mean? You gotta rest a little bit.
You know, I told him he was a pioneer because that was the first real good fight. And not to disrespect anyone that came back during this, because anyone that steps in the ring, I respect, number one. Number two, especially during these times, it's very dangerous out there, you know, so I understand what they're doing. But this fight was the first one with a crowdless atmosphere that really captivated, you know, in my opinion. You know, no disrespect to anyone else that fought. I give everyone respect. But I said you launched something with this, and what I liked about it is it remind me of like back in the day when I'm in the gym, and I told people this, that if we get good fights, without a crowd, you'll still be engaged, because you've been around tons of spars, I'm sure. Like, you hear the floorboard, you hear the mitts, you hear the gloves hitting, and all those sounds add to the sensation of it, and you don't think about the crowd. And that type of fight that Lopez was in was just so, you know, physical, and there was just so much going on. I'm like, I don't care if there's a crowd or not. This is just amazing. You know? So they were the first ones to really light that fire back, in my opinion. And speaking of back, we got boxing back tonight. There was breaking news. I think the main event's off tonight. Did you hear about this?
No. I haven't gotten a chance. You know, we got a good friend fighting on the card, David Krominski. So I'm definitely looking forward to tonight's show. I'll probably get out of
Right,
the gym
it's
around
still on,
7:30,
yeah.
so I might have to watch it here, you know. But
Yeah, it's still on. I think one of the fights were called off, and I just had seen it right before we went on for our interview, so my details are a little sketchy right now. But I believe someone did test positive, unfortunately. But the fights will go on, and I think that's the most important thing, is that we all continue to go on and fight through this thing. That's what boxers do. That's what fighters do. You know, UFC's doing it. I think they're doing a great job. I think Top Rank and you guys are doing a great job with what you're doing. And hopefully we get the sports world back. Do you like other sports?
you know what? I've never really been interested in other sports. You know, I started, boxing as a kid, and it really, I'd say, kind of molded me to who I am now. You know, strong but humble. You know,
Sure.
it really gave me self confidence. So I love the sport so much. I tell you, all I do is I eat, sleep, and everything else boxing. You know, so yeah. No, I've never gotten into any other sports. I don't know what's going on when I watch football. I don't know what's going on when I watch basketball or baseball. So if it's not boxing, it's documentaries. Other than that, no, not really. I just go head over heels for this business, you know.
Yeah, I could hear it in your voice, man. Like for me, I remember I had a trainer who had an archived fight catalog, library of like thousands of fights. And he used to make me these cassette tapes all the time to study. And I would just watch these fights over, and that's all I did, just watch them over and over and over again. And it's so amazing, the history, you know, what fighters' stories are about, because I think that's the most wonderful thing about boxing, is that you get some of the greatest stories from people all over the world. Like, it's not only like, you know, with boxing, it's a world sport, you know, and
Yeah.
you get so many different cultures and so many different, you know, styles. And I think it's just a great thing. You know, like I mentioned before, some of my favorite fighters, Holyfield, Gotti, you know, I love Chavez, you know, it's just so many different fighters. Who are your favorite fighters?
One of the guys I grew up watching a lot, you know, was Juan Manuel Marquez. I really would study him. You know, I enjoyed his style. You know, I got to watch the late Hector Lopez, you know, which is Adam's dad. I liked his footwork. He had great footwork. You know, Johnny Tapia, another one of my favorite fighters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jorge Linares. I love Jorge Linares. I love the way he boxes. You know, I think those are my top pick when it comes to fighters, you know. Definitely. And now, of course, you know, I don't mean to sound like a groupie, but Adam, you know what I mean? I really, like I told him, you know, he's like my little brother. I see him as family. I'm also a fan and also his coach, you know what I mean? When I can sit down and watch his fights and not have to coach him, I really enjoy him, you know, because when we're there in the corner, we don't really get to enjoy the fight, you know, we're there working.
No, it's stressful. Because you're looking at every moment, and people have to realize that sometimes if there's even a boring fight and your fighter's involved, you're still like, you know, watching with so much intensity every moment, you know. And speaking about intensity, Juan Manuel Marquez, he's my professor. I think he's one of the best thinkers in the ring, right? Like the way he would angle and spin out against Michael Casillas, like you saw things like against Pacquiao. He's such an amazing fighter. And you look at the first fight with Pacquiao, he went down 3 times in the first round and virtually, in my opinion, maybe swept the next 11 or at least close to it. Like put on one. Who does that? It's all about. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's my point.
With his nose broken, it's so hard to think like that, you know?
It's impossible almost. No, most people couldn't do that. That's why when people are sitting on the couch drinking a beer, and it's all good with beer, I drink it too, but when they're making such judgment on people, you know, and crapping on fighters, I'm like, are you crazy? Do you know what this is like? Like to get hit like that and then go down 3 times and then not only deal with the punishment, but know psychologically, I'm fighting Manny Pacquiao. Damn.
Right.
I'm fighting one of the best fighters in the world. world right now, and I have to get my ass up for the third time, and it's only the first round, and I'm going to try to go 12. Dude, most people in the world are not designed to do that. Like, so I always tell people when they bash some people, I'm like, you got to look at the big picture, man. You know, you got to look at this, because I fought, bro. I know what it's like, and I've never fought at a world-class level, so I can't even, you know, consider that. But I can say I could understand it to a certain degree, you know. And the guys like that, and guys like Adam Lopez, what we saw with adversity dealing with, I mentioned Arturo Gatti multiple times, Vander Holyfield. These are certain fighters that are just cut from a different cloth, and that's why they're exceptional. And even Buddy, when he fought, you know, had that quality, and as a trainer, he's just been great. And I loved his relationship with Arturo. You could really tell he cared about him, especially in the Mayweather fight. You could really tell that Buddy is a trainer that really gives a shit about his fighters, and I could tell that with you too, man.
Definitely, definitely. We Buddy and I have worked a few fighters, together. We're actually coming up. I hate to bring it up. We're coming up on a year. We had may he rest in peace. Maxim Dadashev.
Yes, sir.
He passed away last year, and it really changed. It changed me a lot when it comes to this business, because it's really, we had a great camp, and then for what happened and the way things went down, it kind of, I could keep it together, but I'm really put me on the next level when it comes to being a trainer, because I had to live through such a horrible tragedy,
Oh, absolutely.
So definitely, man, it's a very difficult position to be in, but Buddy's definitely a great guy, and he cares. I think that's what makes him such a good trainer. Makes him an amazing trainer, amazing friend, and a great example. Like I said, he's a great family man, and we really make a great team. I really enjoy working with them.
I agree. I agree. Yeah. And the thing is, that's why I always tell people, like, before you bash a fighter, like, understand the severity of the sport. It's not easy to do. There's weight cuts, there's diet, there's a certain lifestyle too. It's not even what happens in the ring. It's what happens outside of the ring, whether it's sparring, diet, leading up to it. Like, people, I tell people all the time, like, I'll tell friends that, like, bash a fighter. I'm like, dude, you're eating ribs every day and eating steak and drinking beer. I'm like, you understand these guys are up at like 5 a.m. running 5 miles. They're making sacrifices. They're not able to do things that they'd want to do. Some of them aren't even getting laid because they don't want to, weaken their legs, like the old saying goes. I'm like,
absolutely.
It takes so much discipline, like, to do this. And I've seen it behind the scenes with professional and amateur fighters. And I'm just like, guys, you got to understand, like, and if someone comes in and gets blown out in one round, like, oh man, he sucks, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, he doesn't suck. He put himself through a camp. Like, maybe he had a bad night. Like, maybe he didn't, have his diet work for him. I don't know. There's always a story behind it. But 9 times out of 10, I could guarantee you, a fighter that goes in the fight, especially for good money, is not going in there to get their ass kicked. They're going there to defend themselves.
Right.
They're going there.
Yeah. Like you said, it's a difficult lifestyle.
It's crazy.
Yeah, go ahead.
But I love it, and I love the sport, and it's my favorite sport of all time. And it's a metaphor for life. The way I look at it, everything I do in life is a fight. You got to go all your rounds. You got to get through. And that's why boxing, in my opinion, when it's at its best, is the greatest thing on the earth.
Absolutely. Like I said, it brings self-confidence, and like you said, these guys, they don't always have good days in the gym. And, it's up to himself, but the team he has around him to kind of set him straight. When we see a little something funny with any fighter, we kind of got to pull him out. We got to talk to him. We got to see what the root of the problem is, you know, and when it comes down to it, you know, you have to be 110% with boxing. No women, no junk food, no going out at night, you know, you go to sleep early. You do the same thing every freaking day without a promise that you're going to make it to the top. And that goes to fighters,
right?
You know what I mean? In the elite level, you're never promised to get a world title, so you have to love what you do and really dedicate yourself and kind of just, you know, believe in yourself, believe in your team, and just take that leap of faith and get to it. But it takes a lot to get to where these elite fighters have gone to, you know. And like you said, I don't go to bars, I don't go to restaurants, I don't even go to my friends' houses to watch fights, because I've had instances where I'm ready to pick up a chair and hit somebody over the head with it, you know what I mean? Because of the way they're talking, it's like, man, you have no clue. I still have hospital bills from when I was boxing, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I never got to elite levels, you know. I had really hard sparring sessions, you know. I ended up at Freddie Roach's gym, and you know, I was in camp with Israel Vasquez. You know, Israel Vasquez was a great fighter.
Mm-hmm.
He was probably one of the hardest punchers I've been in there with. I was in one camp with him. And I started getting these headaches, man. I was supposed to turn pro in 2001. I started getting these headaches about a week out from my fight. And I went to the doctor. They gave me a spinal tap. And it turned out I had bruising in my brain. I had a little bit of blood surfacing. So I had to kind of stop for a little bit, you know what I mean? I had to kind of stop and kind of think about stuff, but I was very stubborn. I came back in 2006 and made my pro debut, you know, so.
Wow.
But yeah, definitely the hardest sport I've been in, you know, and like we said before, you know, I hate to jump back and forth, but to be able to make adjustments in the ring is difficult. You know, I got an honor to spar with Nonito Donaire. And just like you say, you know, within 2 rounds, my nose was broken. And Freddie pulls me out, and I'm like, Freddie, you know, my pride got in the way, you know, and I'm like, no, I can keep going. Freddie says, no, man, come out. So I come out, and I sit there, you know, and I talk to Nonito. I said, man, I couldn't touch you, man. How do you do that? You know, I think he was like 5-0. He was just getting his pro career started. And he says, look, man, you got to sit down and think and slow things down. And it really hit home, you know, because I was going off emotion and just letting loose. And until that point, I started thinking, and, you know, it's funny. He broke my nose. This was a Monday. So we would box Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I go home Monday, and my nose is a mess. You know what I mean? So I come back the next day. I had 2 black eyes. When you get your nose broken, the blood surfaces under your eyes. You know what I mean? So I knew right away my nose was broken. So I walk in, it's Tuesday, and Freddie says, oh, hey, dress up. You know, you're sparring today. And I said, wait a minute. I said, first of all, Freddie, my nose is broken. Second of all, it's Tuesday. We work the floor. He says, yeah, but Nonito needs a few rounds because he leaves. You know, it's his final sparring session. He's got to go out of state and leave early, you know, to make adjustments at the venue, you know, at the place where they're fighting. And I said, wow, really? He says, yeah, man, get in there. I said, what about my nose? He says, you know what? Move your head. I said, okay. One of the hardest things I've had to do is go in there and really, really, like, you know, play the part and just, you know, say a little prayer and I just, I had to go, you know, but I grew from that. And I knew that there was nobody else to pat on the back but myself for getting through that, you know, and it really, really changed my life. I'll tell you, man, I went through a lot when I was a kid, you know, I got bullied and all that. While I was boxing, I was already, I don't know, won a couple tournaments and I was active, but, you know, my coaches always told me, you know, you keep this to yourself, you don't use it outside, and that's that. But, you know, finally I had enough, and I had to put a couple people on the floor, you know what I mean? And then it just, everything changed. It followed me all through high school, you know, and, but yeah, I mean, definitely, it's an amazing sport, man. I really love what I do, and I'm blessed to be here. I'm blessed to be doing what I love.
Oh, absolutely. You do it very well. I'll share a story with you real quick, too. The first time I had an emotional conflict in boxing was my trainer in Newark hit me, right? After training me, we sparred. and
Okay.
I got hit by him, and I felt like really upset. I'm like, wow, this is like a friend that just like punched me in my face. But then I realized that this was going to happen frequently in terms of not only getting hit by your trainer, but you're going to, know people, and you're going to be friends with them too. Like, people don't understand the emotional conflict that boxing can bring. Like, you'll know people and get into a tournament with them, and you like them. You like their family, you like their values, but you got to fight them. It's like, it's a messed up thing. And boxing, again, is the greatest sport in the world, but these are things that people don't consider, and I tell them all the time, like, listen, sometimes these guys are buddies, and they got to do something to each other, and, yes, they get paid very well at the high level. I get it, and people want their money's worth, their hard-earned money. I get it. I work hard, too. But it's like there's times where you have to physically put damage on someone, and you don't want to do it. I've been on both sides of it. I've been knocked out by someone I was friends with, and I've also stopped someone I was friends with, and it's not the coolest thing in the world. It's like you feel like shit, actually.
You kind of gotta be selfish. I kind of had those experiences myself, sparring with my teammates, but there was something about getting the best of a person. I mean, I really don't know how to explain it, but I will take such joy in beating up my stablemates, you know what I mean? Because it's a very selfish sport. Now, after, I did feel bad. And as I got a little older, I kind of had more of a conscience, you know what I mean? Once everything is done and my adrenaline stopped flowing, I'd feel horrible. I really would,
That's the word, adrenaline.
Going on.
Yep.
Yeah, when you're in there, I mean, you can only care about one person, and that's yourself. Because you're the one that's going to suffer the consequences. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I learned really early on, at Wildcard, it really, really taught me a lot. It's every man for himself. They can like you outside the ring, but once you're in there, it's you or me. And I got tired of it being me. So I would do anything and everything to make sure I got the best of that sparring session because, like I said, Wildcard, man, I had some bad days. And they let you know that. You leave, and you can hear them talking smack. You come to the gym, and they remind you what happened yesterday. You know what I mean? Oh, you remembered it? Oh, man, come on. And you hear it until you show improvement.
Mm-hmm.
So, definitely
But it's all about
coming
back. It's all about coming back, yeah. The most important thing is that you come back. I remember I got my ass whooped the first day, and then I came back, and that's what the coach told me. He's like, at least you came back, because most people don't.
Yeah,
it's a rough sport.
As I mentioned before, 2001, I was going to make my pro debut. I was training with Eric Brown, and I pulled out of the fight the week of. So check it out. I come back to the gym once I healed up, right? Maybe about a month after I come back, I start training. And they called me Kool-Aid. My own trainer says, "Oh, here comes Kool-Aid." I said, "What do you mean by that?" He said, "You got sugar in your blood. You ain't got no real blood running through there." You know what I mean? I said, "What?" And every day, I showed up, and they'd make an announcement. Oh, here comes Kool-Aid, and the whole gym would sit there and laugh at me. You know what I mean? And I stopped showing up. 3 years later, I come back, same thing. Kept calling me Kool-Aid. So I'll tell you. I took another fight to make my pro debut with Eric Brown, and I started training. The last week of sparring, I sparred with this guy. He was a big puncher, and he wrapped the right hook to the body around my back, and I kind of tried to roll with it, but he hit me on my sciatic nerve. So for 1 week, I couldn't tie my shoe. I couldn't stretch. I could barely run. And Eric is old school. I said, "Eric, I got hurt." He says, "Well, you know what? Take some ibuprofen. We signed the contract already. You ain't getting out of it." I said, "Are you fucking kidding me?" I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cuss.
Mm-hmm.
Are you
no,
kidding
you
me?
can. We could curse on here. We could curse on here. Yep.
And he says, "Yeah, man. You signed that. You signed the contract. I don't roll that way, man. You ain't pulling out of this one." I said, "No, you're right. I believe, what you say, and we're going to go through with it, man." And we went through with it. I mean, the guys, before the doctor would check you and they kind of they kind of bump your back, with their fist, and they kind of
Mm-hmm.
check your back, and I mean, I remember the guy from the commission, he hit me in the back, and I jumped, and he says, "You okay?" I said, "No, I'm just ticklish." And I said, "Oh, okay, and we went back to the locker room, man, and yeah, I had Eric tying my boots up because I couldn't lean over or anything. But once that bell rang, I forgot about my sciatic nerve, I'll tell you that. Yeah, I just went to work, but yeah, man, like I said, man, this sport builds a lot of character. Great memories,
does.
Never change.
What I love is the class, like the versatility that we show. Like you talked about adrenaline and then turning it off, and afterwards you could give a fighter a hug. I'll give you another story. I'm at a gym called El Coqui in Newark, New Jersey. I'm a stable fighter. I'm preparing for silver gloves, and I was training really, really hard. I had to get down from 150 to 139. They wanted me to fight at 139. And so that was, it was difficult. And so basically I was training and I had a hard session. So I took my shirt off and the manager of the gym comes up to me and he's like, "Bro, what the fuck are you doing?" I'm like, "What's wrong?" He's like, "Put your shirt back on. There's women here." He's like,
right.
"Put your shirt back on. You're being inappropriate." I'm like, "I didn't realize that." And then he tells me to go in the corner and he's like, the corner of the room. And he's like, "You're okay? Can you drink some water and all that?" Because I did some spars. I was working out all day. I said, "Yeah, I'm fine."
Yeah.
He's like, "Go there and do 100 push-ups." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I don't care how long it takes you, but you got to get 100 in." I'm like, "What the?" So he was making a point, is that you got to, no matter what, even though it's a barbaric sport, and I learned a lot from that lesson. I'm like, you know what, man? He's right. Like, I should have thought in advance. He's like, "There's a woman here. There's kids. Like, put your shirt back on. No one's got their shirt off. What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm hot. It's 100 degrees in here." He's like, "I don't care. Put your shirt on and give me 100. I'm like,
right.
What? So
right.
that's what I like about boxing, and that's what people have to understand. It's a discipline. No matter how much money these people make and how much we want from these guys, we're asking a lot of them. And every single time they go in there, no matter how good their life is, they're risking it every time. It's not a joke. Boxing is for real. And especially now more than ever, because not only are they risking just in the ring, but they're also risking with this coronavirus and all this shit. But, moving forward, hopefully we all stay healthy. And moving forward to close out, what are you doing today, man? What's your plans for today?
Well, today I'm at the gym. I'm waiting on a client. I'll probably grab some lunch right now. I have a guy coming in at between 4:30 and 5, my time, and then I have another client that I work with from 6:30 to 7:30. Then I gotta go to the store, buy a couple things for dinner, and go home to my boys. Go home to my beautiful wife and my amazing children.
Beautiful.
And yeah, man, same routine. Walk the dogs, help with dinner, eat, go to sleep.
Yeah, we're gonna light the grill. We're gonna have a little barbecue tonight. With the kid and my wife. Yeah, and we're just gonna chill out, watch some boxing, and just look forward to the next day, of course. And I'll let you get to your day. I really appreciate this. Was an amazing conversation. I'm not gonna lie, bro. Like, this was a lot of fun.
Thank you, and I really appreciate you having me on your show. Thank you so much for taking the time
anytime.
And interviewing me. Thank you. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah. Anytime you have any fighters, anytime you want to come on, I'm always here. I'm always willing to talk, and that's my thing, man. So I appreciate you coming on. Mad respect, and enjoy the rest of your day, brother.
For sure. Thank you. Likewise, huh? God bless. Stay safe out there.
You too, man. Keep in touch. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. All right. Bye.
Yep.